Joining us now are Juan Zarate, our CBS News national security analyst, and our State Department correspondent, Margaret Brennan. Margaret, all of this puts Vladimir Putin in a difficult position. He and his government have been supporting these rebels, both in terms of rhetoric and in terms of military assistance for months now.
They have. The Obama administration has believed that from the beginning, the strategy has been directed from the very top of the Russian government, from President Putin, to try to make the young, very Western-leaning Ukrainian government look inept, look like they can't actually control the country. And they've accused Putin of helping to fund not only paramilitary groups, but sending in unmarked agents, referred to as sort of little green men, basically skilled agents who can teach some of these paramilitaries how to use heavy equipment. Also sending in troops overtly to the border to influence things and financially squeeze Ukraine to make them more dependent on Russia. So the strategy up to this point has been, let's try to make it costly to Putin. The United States and Europe has put sanctions on him and his government, but they have punished him. They have not deterred the Russian government from this strategy of continuing to support these paramilitaries.
And whatever missile system this was, it would have had to have been very sophisticated and operated by trained troops, because the airliner was flying at 33,000 feet at 500 miles an hour. That's not an easy target to hit. Juan, how does this change the landscape of this conflict that we've seen growing over these months?
Scott, I think this is a game changer in three ways. One, I think it internationalizes this conflict in a way that we haven't seen to date. This isn't just a conflict between Russia and Ukraine or something confined to the east of that country or Crimea. This is a civilian flight from Europe to Asia. It's going to affect numerous nationalities and countries. And so in some ways it makes it a more material international conflict. It also puts President Putin and I think the Russians on the defensive here. I think the best case scenario for Russia is not just an exposure of their lies in terms of their support, but it also demonstrates that they've enabled and armed militias on the ground that at best they can't control. And I think this puts him on the defensive. I think lastly, Scott, it changes the nature of the diplomacy. We've relied very much on the Russians to try to contain these forces on the ground. And if they can't contain the forces, if they've unleashed them in a way that Putin and Moscow can't control, that changes the dynamics and we may be facing escalation.
Margaret, what happens next in your estimation with regard to American diplomacy on this?
Well, the U.S. has been pushing Russia to clamp down its border, to stop the flow of fighters who are perhaps coming in with different agendas from Russia into this eastern part of Ukraine. So that'll be a top item on the agenda. Shut that down, start to try to get some control over these fighters on the ground. But what it also does is, for this new Ukrainian president, Poroshenko, it perhaps allows him to take the gloves off. He has been restrained in having taken military action and then pulled back to try to go down the diplomatic front. But keep in mind, Scott, I think in addition to changing the diplomatic landscape in the region, there can be broader implications here, because this is not the only foreign policy challenge for the administration right now. They need Russia strategically to negotiate with Iran. They also need him for influence with Syria as well.
Thank you very much. Margaret Brennan, our State Department correspondent, and Juan Zarate, our consultant on terrorism and international affairs. Thank you very much, both of you.